And building a personal brand is not just for your thought leaders or your CEOs. Everyone has a personal brand. Unfortunately, when it comes to confidence, and especially video confidence, as you can imagine with a video confidence coach, that comes up a lot. It's mainly about practice. No matter how much money it is, people trust you. They are going to buy from you. But they need to know who they're talking to. They need to know why they're talking to them. And they need to have the resources to back up what they're saying. Because if they don't have those three things, then it's an expensive hobby.
You're listening to Beyond Growth with Rayan Fernando.
Zoe, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you here, and especially speak to a fellow content creator, podcaster, doing all the bits. But obviously, you run Video Confidence Coach, and
Yes.
So I think it's probably best you describe exactly what you do rather than me doing the intro.
Well, of course, you haven't practiced as much as I have.
No,
clearly.
exactly. So give me the run through on what you do and how you work with your clients, but also just a little bit of a brief history. Give me a run through on how you got here.
Clearly. So I am Zoe Wood, your video confidence coach. I help you shine as the obvious choice using your personalized video toolkit. So essentially to say I work with people on building their personal brand through the power of video, because those two things honestly work really well together. And building a personal brand is not just for your thought leaders or your CEOs. Everyone has a personal brand. They may not just be utilizing it just yet, or they may not realize that they need to utilize it to especially get in this crazy world that we live in where you need to stand out and be noticed. So then you can continue your career.
Yes.
And of course, everything that I am, and everything that I do is on my website, vcc.training. And I'll put that in there for now, just in case people want to scroll and look at that as they're listening or watching today.
No, sounds good. Sounds good. Now, I mean, I guess there's a whole bunch of different ways people can create content and obviously support, and there's other people that do similar sort of things. But what makes what you do different? How do you work differently with your client base?
So with the clients that I tend to work with, so I used to be very niched and very, very particular, which I'm sure a lot of people do feel that way. But once I've gotten more into specifically helping leaders, specifically women leaders, there has been a very big change when it comes to the format that I like to think of. So when it comes to when you're listening or watching, or as you're joining us on the podcast today, you are in this conversation with us. Whether you're watching or you're listening with us, you are that third person in that conversation. And when it comes to like content like that, it's all about that third person. It's all about the person who is listening or watching, not just so that they can eventually come into your lead funnel or eventually buy something off you as the person who is speaking and leading the conversation. You are there to, as the leader, you are there to serve and to give as much value as you can to that end user, that third person in the conversation. And when you stick to just one format, or maybe you stick to one method because you think, I'm comfortable writing a newsletter that gets sent out once a month. I'm comfortable with that. Is your audience comfortable with that? Do your audience need that? Do your audience care?
Yeah.
Because it's not about your comfort. It's about doing what's best for you, for not just your audience, but your customers, your clients, your potential customers. And if they don't care, or if they don't even notice, then it doesn't matter what your comfort is if they can't get the value that you give them, not just service wise, but also just information, education, entertainment even. Because I do find it very funny when speaking with people who are especially in industries where there is like insurance, finance, naturally dry industry subjects.
I love finance.
I know.
No, I totally agree.
But it can be quite dry just because of the nature of the work. But when you have people that are passionate about what they do, there's the entertainment that comes in that. When you come from people who are speaking genuinely from a genuine place and from a genuine place of values, they're not just saying, the Dow went up and down. I don't know. I honestly don't know what any of those words mean. But they speak, if they are they're like speaking to another human, because that's what we need, especially as we move more into this crazy world of AI. More and more people are trying to undercut or find cheaper, easier ways of getting engagement, because engagement meant money. Engagement doesn't mean money anymore, because there is just a plethora of content, usually low-grade content. And I'm not talking just about your a post on social media or maybe a video on a YouTube or something like that. This is for every piece of messaging that you're doing, either representing your brand or yourself or a company that you happen to be representing at the time. All that stuff like builds not just an impression of you as the leader, but also like how people view the industry as a whole. Because everyone is representing their industry. Like I'm representing marketing, for better or worse.
The jury's out. The jury's out.
The jury's out. The jury's out. But like obviously when people are speaking from a human place and they're not just speaking to get content out there, to boost their numbers, to, get the granular cents on the dollar that YouTube ad revenue or sponsorships can give you, when you're coming from a place of human understanding and human interaction, people are going to follow. People are going to like listen to what you have to say, and hopefully. Well, definitely not hopefully, but there is going to be a understanding of if you are sponsored by something, if you are selling something, if you are coming from a place of, hey, I believe what I'm talking about. I've been talking about this subject. I've been in this industry for a long time, and I believe that this service that I've created is going to benefit you. Then, of course, they're going to go and sign up. They're going to go pay the money straight away. They're going to put down the down payment. Whatever it is, no matter how much money it is, people trust you. They are going to buy from you. If there is any wavering of trust, be it, say, for example, if you've been found out to do something illegal or unillegal, or
unillegal,
or if you've been found to do something, or maybe, for example, you've been using AI, and in a industry where people really need a lot of trust, then immediately people go, nah, I'm okay. They drop you and move on to maybe a competitor, maybe a collaborator, or maybe just drop the industry entirely because they're like, everyone in quote unquote industry, and now I don't trust them, I don't like them, bye. Yeah. And maybe that may not be the customer that you're trying to get on board. Maybe someone who you're targeting is someone who's really into what you have to say and what you, because it's going to mean that they have a better life, that they get more money, that raising a family is easy for them, whatever you're doing, whatever how you're helping people do, if they don't feel like they can trust you with not even just information, but also just with their time. Because the content marketing machine is definitely been pushed a long time in the marketing industry. I'm sure you've definitely felt this, where say 10, 15 years ago, it was all about like what we can put on a billboard, what we can, like what can we do with the least amount of words as possible? And since then, it's been very much content. Got to push, got to post every day, got to be there every day, got to be hustling and grinding, which is not sustainable for people who are building a personal brand unless you have the backing of a company or a lot of people who are happy to help boost you, or you're already making a lot of money as it is to then help, buy the service and time of other people to then help grow your personal brand.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of instances where that can be quite overwhelming for one person. And this, looking at, someone who is producing so much content can feel like, oh, do I have to do that? Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, and they move further and further back from not just the idea of marketing themselves, but just communicating with their audience, communicating with their potential customers, people who actively need what they have. And they're going, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a car salesman. Used car salesman technically. Yeah. My apologies for any car salesman in the audience. But when it comes to that industry reputation, people don't want to be that slimy, salesy person. But in this capitalistic world that we live in, you kind of need to get your message out there. You need to push. You need to be memorable. You need to be seen as, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. So when it comes to what they have to say about a certain topic, I'm going to listen to them. And if I don't, why would I care to buy from them?
A lot to unpack there. But I know, totally agree. And I think it's the whole market, not the whole market, but the whole, I guess, in the journey I'm in at the moment, transitioning from IT sales into an EOS implementer, even that just it's taken a couple of years to really find my groove. Definitely, you know, the video, I feel like video seems to be the best way to try and get in front of people more with more authentic stuff as well. Because of that AI piece, right? So there's just so much, and there's AI videos out there too, right? So that makes it even more, more difficult now to actually break through because you got all these videos. But I think, like, I totally agree though. If you, and I sort of looked at that whole AI or creating videos through AI, but then I'm like, but then there's no point if it's just all fake, I suppose. But then you can't back it up in real life, right?
If you're trying to sell something real, showcasing it by giving proof that is fake immediately discredits you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can, you can come into my, my butcher and I'll have, I don't know, the meat dancing for you. People go, what? Why? I just want to grab a leg of lamb for Easter. I don't want any of this. You can imagine that type of feeling. And also, as more and more people are online now, there's, especially in a lot of say Western parts of the world, a lot of people are already online. People are, being born, living, and then dying on the internet. Like there's a lot of focus on the internet and digital marketing aspect, for example. But there are plenty of people who very rarely interact with the internet. There's majority of the world who does not have internet access. So for who you're talking to and who you're serving, does it make sense to put all your eggs in the basket of your internet presence? And I know that seems very counterintuitive to someone who is in video marketing and digital marketing. That's just true, because a lot of the people that I work with, you are the personal brand. And say, for example, a lot of people that I work with, the way that they make their money is by their time, but also by, say, providing courses. They run workshops. They attend events or speak at events. They are that authority. What's the LinkedIn term? Authority leader, or like
thought leader. Thought
leader. Yeah. That point of authority for whatever they're talking about. And to be honest, a lot of the stuff that they, a lot of the work that they get, a lot of the big money, a lot of the big projects are word of mouth from previous clients, from people that they're currently working with, people who have always maybe seen their stuff in the background and go, oh, when I need someone like that, I'll definitely get in touch with them.
Yeah.
Or like a lot of clients that I'm currently working with, because we've pretty much have a well-oiled machine at this point of like consistency. No matter what changes happen in the big world outside, we're able to keep things relatively consistently going in the background, as in not just content, but just repurposing things.
Yeah.
And as someone who runs a podcast and if anyone who's ever done a podcast, be it a guest, produced, or anyone who's ever done a podcast, always do short snippets, put it out on the internet. People haven't heard your podcast until you promote your podcast.
Absolutely. Take it from me.
Look at you as you breathe and you go,
Yeah. Let's go through a journey. I reckon it'd be cool to see what if someone's starting out and hasn't quite identified what their ideal client is, or ideal client profile is to begin with. I'm assuming that's the best place to start, right? Like, who do you want to work with? Who do you work best with? What does it look like? What do they think? How do they feel? Work on that, so the ideal client profile or ICP. Because I feel like if you got that, then you sort of know where you need to target that audience.
And especially when you're starting out, you have very limited resources.
Yeah.
Be that money, be that time, be that access to whatever you need to do or whatever you want to do. So understanding what you want to achieve, like your goals, but then also who you're talking to initially, because that ICP is not necessarily the person you're going to be sticking with your entire business, your entire career. That is going to change, that is going to evolve. Like I work with plenty of people where the people that they started working with were maybe great super fans. So these are people who really rave about them, do a lot of word of mouth, really get their name out there. But then once they've serviced that particular niche, particular little, group of people, then it's like, everyone who wants to work with me has worked with me. Okay, cool. Now what? Yeah. Now you expand that profile, because it's coming from a place of what people need, what people want, the emotional drivers, not just can they afford me, because you wouldn't be considering them if they can't afford you.
That's it. And I guess, yeah, so you do, and to that point too, you would have a couple. So, you don't necessarily have one ICP. You'd have maybe 3, maybe 4, and go, okay, these are the ones, and how am I going to target each one?
Yes.
So obviously there's multiple ways, like you said, send newsletters, put a billboard up. Shout out to the great guys at Gork doing some amazing work in our region as well. But yeah, so you put a billboard up, jump on the radio, but you decide, okay, I need to make some videos. I need to post them on socials. I need to get on LinkedIn to become that thought leader, to become that person that's speaking the right language. How does someone start? What's your recommendations?
So unfortunately, when it comes to confidence, and especially video confidence, as you can imagine with the video confidence coach, that comes up a lot. It's mainly about practice, which is what people don't want to hear, because we want things now. We want it now. We want it now, Daddy. We want it now. And that type of mentality isn't going to fly when you're trying to have something sustainable long term.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got experience, great, awesome. You've already got a little bit of a leg up to make that practice window shorter. But if you are someone who's like, oh, I've seen someone like this, I want to achieve what they have, to get started, utilizing the thing that's in your hand. You're probably watching this, podcast on now. You're listening to this podcast on now. Start by recording videos of yourself. Get comfortable with that new experience, that new experience of seeing yourself through the eyes of a camera.
Yes.
Because and I will have to remind my clients a couple of times of this. The camera is not a real person. The camera is just going to capture what it sees. It has no feelings. It has no emotions. And if it throws something back at you that you don't like, that is okay. Because eventually, doing it enough times with enough practice, you learn to not necessarily ignore everything, but you overlook it. Because your customers, can see your passion, can see that you care about their problems, that you have the solution that you're providing. You're really passionate about what you're doing. They're going to see that. They're not really going to care that your makeup's all messed up, because I am someone who messes my makeup. Once we've established who we're talking to, and again, especially when you're starting off with one audience or one type of person is okay, because you've got limited resources and you need to be able to, ultimately you want to be able to get those super fans, because those people who are going to rave about you online, in person, who are going to get you access to those people who are going to maybe hire you long term, or maybe have you as repeat clients, that small group is going to get you access to those people. And it may be a case that small group that you start off with are the same people who are going to get you on return. Awesome. Build up that audience of repeat clients, because those repeat clients are going to enable you to then start with different ICPs. They're going to start allowing you to start targeting different people, because you'll have the resources to back up what you're doing. And also, you will have proof that what you're doing makes sense, that gets results, that achieves what people want to achieve. And also, when you start pushing yourself out there to get more and more people, you will have done it a couple of times. So if you've made mistakes, you've only made mistakes on people that really, really like you. And you can do it a couple of times and get your processes in order, because the reason why people like yourself, or probably people who are watching or listening, the way that you're able to do what you do is because you've done it so many times that the steps are already mapped out, either in your brain or written down on paper. You've got people to help you. You've been able to delegate tasks because you know what they need to do, and you've told them what they need to do in step-by-step fashion. And that's the same thing when creating content, when marketing yourself, when messaging. Yes, it may be hard to start because you have no processes. You have no idea what you're doing, and it's going to take a bit of practice. But once you've started practicing, once you've done a little bit of trial and error, and people don't like to fail, and I'm sorry, that's going to happen a little bit. But once you've started doing that, then it will be easier. You'll be able to, maybe record a podcast, maybe taking on a project like this can be something that they can do. And if they need to hire outside people, like the video confidence coach, then they can do that. But they need to know who they're talking to. They need to know why they're talking to them. And they need to have the resources to back up what they're saying. Because if they don't have those three things, then it's an expensive hobby.
No, that's it. And I think it's it can get very expensive. Take this podcast, for example. Obviously doing it myself as much as I can, but yeah, if you're looking to get it produced, or if you're looking to hire a place and things like that, the whole podcast space can become really, really expensive, especially when you're starting, right? So it's early days. We're getting into a whole you don't have the dollars. You're just basically, trying to get something up and running. It's important that you have that plan.
And it is easier. I'm going to say now that it is a lot easier to, say, self-produce a podcast or do these much bigger projects than it was, say, 3, maybe 5 or even 10 years ago. I remember doing podcasts for clients and we were kind of bootstrapping it with Zooms that had terrible audio quality and just kind of trying our best to make things work with what we've got, where now there are AI supported tools. I want to stress they're not wholly AI tools, even though they may be pushed with the marketing budgets that they have. They are AI supported tools because they help address those issues of, I don't have a whole lot of time. I need to edit this. Can I just edit it via the script? Awesome. There's a program that does that called a script. There are plenty of programs out there that are able to take a full podcast episode and put it into tiny little snippets, put captions on it that are to your branding colors, maybe even a logo in the corner if you're fancy, and then it's your job to schedule things in. And before the podcast, we were chatting about how, is it Claude or one of the programs that you use to schedule in content?
Opus Clip.
Opus Clip. And that also pulls the content initially for you. So there's these are paid tools, but these are tools that reduce that amount of effort and an amount of time that it's going to take to get your message out there. Because even if it isn't perfect, you still need to be out there. Yeah. You still need to be doing the work. You need still to be doing the dance, because if people don't see that you are doing it, people are going to forget you. They're going to switch off. And I am someone who, I know personally in my own business, I have a tendency of doing that because, say, for example, social media, when it comes to my priorities, my website is more important. My YouTube is more important. My word of mouth referral work that I do a lot in the background. And if you're one of my referees, you will definitely know this, that I do a lot of that work in the background, where social media is kind of like the last rung of that ladder. And I drop the ball a lot on that because it's that last rung of the ladder. I am endeavoring to change because turns out if I walk the talk, I need to talk the walk.
Walk the talk?
Yes, that makes sense. If I'm promoting people to do these things, I need to show that I can do these things.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's going to happen sometimes when you're human, especially when you are rolling this thing yourself.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have a very small team. And I've worked with plenty of people where they've been able to get the content going, get it for 3 months, and then they have a big event, a big project, and then everything kind of stops, everything kind of drops.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but then they pick it up again. And that is also okay when you are building a personal brand. It is a lifelong thing. It is not something that you're going to do for a very short amount of time. You may be putting a lot of resources and effort in that short amount of time, but it's a lifelong thing. So that's something that I would like to be able to support people in. And if that means being able to work with them for a short amount of time so that they can use the content again and again and again, awesome, great, I've done my job, because it's taken away that stress and pain for them. And they have a beautiful set of videos at the end, a video toolkit, if you will. And I imagine that's the same for you on this podcast, to be able to have a collection, not just of proof from professionals, but a proof that, the work that you're doing matters. Would I be right in saying that? Or do you have other motivations for this podcast that are a bit more nefarious?
Mostly nefarious. No, actually, for me, it's that I think I enjoy the creative side of podcasting, and that's sort of, this is my creative outlet in the professional world for me. So the more I do it, the more I enjoy it. But then also just the whole time I'm doing this, I just want to not do everything before and after the podcast.
I know.
I mean, my process is pretty simple. Couple of phones recording us today. Got the roadcaster just recording the voices, which is great. I've got an amazing dude through Upwork that cuts the video together. I edit the videos using CapCut. Nice and simple. Just do, I like the little preview video bits at the start, the music and all that. So that's me. And then Opus Clip does the short stuff. So I've cut it down to pretty well controlled. I still don't want to do it though.
Yes, and I imagine that's something that you've had to build over time as well. You didn't just start off with this process. You didn't magically copy and paste it from someone that you knew, or maybe a guru online or something like that. No. This is something that you've had to develop over time.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is annoying.
No, it is. And it's also because I started the podcast purely to be voice. I just want to be voice. I'm like, I don't want to stuff around my video because I know how much work it is. But then I very quickly realized it becomes a very a single use bit of media, bit of content. I know you can cut the voice up and do those little boxes with the moving sound waves in it. But I think the video does a lot more for me.
Unfortunately, video is very compelling.
Yes.
And I do mean that wholeheartedly.
I know. I think, I feel like that's what
but also your standard of video, it doesn't have to be that of a blockbuster either. Like, as long as you're able to capture what you need to capture.
Yes.
You can get the bits together. The editing is okay. It can be a bit subpar as long as the audio is okay. The video can be a bit.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at. Like, for me, that's why the Rodecaster is here, because I want to make sure the audio is perfect.
Yes.
Or as good as it can be. I won't say perfect. I'm not in a real sound booth. I'm surrounded by windows. We're not really in the right place. But ultimately, good sound, and like you said, the video isn't as important. Although the amount of people that actually watch the video is quite high.
Yes,
which I couldn't comprehend. I don't know whether that's because it just runs in the background automatically anyway, like on Spotify.
It's a combination of a couple of things. So over the past year or two, both Spotify and YouTube have been really pushing into the podcasting space. Because podcasting, previous to that, I'd say more than like 5 years ago, there was really like Apple Podcasts, your Stitches, your like NPR, like your legacy type things that were set up in 2004, 2005, and then they've just kind of been running ever since. And this real shake up from Spotify and YouTube, I have my problems with both, to be perfectly honest. But they're moving more to that video format, and then in turn, because they're trying to get more podcasters on board, they're trying to show their number go up in their end reports, that they're pushing people to listen and engage with those video podcasts. And that is for any particular platform. Say, for example, when shorts or reels became a thing on social media, you would see them absolutely everywhere. Why? Because the platforms were trying to push more not just engagement with the format, but also more people to, keep them on the platform longer.
Yeah.
And with video podcasts, especially because it's 2 or more people speaking, or maybe even 1, there is a conversation happening. People put it on their, let it run on their kitchen TVs. I didn't realize there were so many people having like TVs in their kitchen, but turns out it's a real big thing. In their lounge room, or like the idea is that it's just something there. There are humans interacting on the screen, but they're also part of the conversation, and that is what's engaging. I personally am an audio listener because I like to be able to do things as I listen.
Yep. But
that's not for everyone, and as these platforms are pushing more and more, that'll definitely wane over time, and you'll definitely notice this. Is that the numbers will slowly go down again when there is something else for these platforms to push in the meantime. But right now, video podcasts is where it's at. They all these major podcasting platforms are even changing RSS. So that's the code that gets put out there that enables your podcast player to pick up the latest episode of the podcast or your latest blog post to be picked up. That's what an RSS feed is. Mm-hmm. There are constant updates to that to include video podcasts. Are they successful? Will they be successful? Probably. It's going to all be a use case. And if people really enjoy video podcasts, great, awesome. You can add this to your workflow. And you can also pull out, like, the repurposing idea of having a video podcast is awesome. If you can do it, great. But if you can't, that's okay. but if you can, it would be great. Even if you just have like a
Just do it.
Just even if you have a phone in like the corner of a room,
Yes. Yeah,
and like
yeah,
you're
yeah.
capturing the conversation, even if it looks like utter crap, having something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And yes, it may mean more skills that you have to develop over time, but those skills are going to be more useful as we move more into.
Just give me 30 seconds. If your business is serious about certification and trust, you need to check out ISO 365. They make ISO compliance simple, practical, and sustainable by building your ISO systems inside the Microsoft 365 tools you already use. No extra software, no hidden license fees, just real control and ownership of your compliance. I love the work that ISO 365 does because they don't just hand you templates and walk away. They become part of your team as virtual compliance officers, guiding you from gap assessment through to certification and long-term compliance. If you want compliance that actually works for your business and helps you win trust and new contracts, check out ISO 365. And now back to the show.
Not necessarily the content age, but you need to be able to be everywhere at once all the time. And to do that, you need to have more like opportunities to do that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And it does get easier. I mean, yes, I think the first podcast I produced was a lot of work, and then just eventually gets easier and easier.
How did you overcome that first hurdle? Like that, it was a lot of work, and you probably finished that first one. You're like, why did I do this? Why I'm not going to do this again? Why did I decide to do this again? I would love to know from you, like, what kept you pushing past that?
I suppose I did a fair bit of content stuff pre-podcasting. So create a whole bunch of content in the barbecue space because that was one of my passions. Still is. Still can cook a brisket. But anyway, so that was kind of – so I started in the short form video world. So reels, making reels. How do I make it as quickly, as fast as possible and, have the 2-second catches at the start and things like the hooks, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I started, got into podcasting, and I kind of – I don't know, I think just being not technically minded, but having the tech background just fell into it really well and really easily.
Transferable skills.
Yeah.
And as we all continue on with our careers and our life and the world is changing around us, transferable skills are going to be better than everything.
Yeah.
Like that's just what's going to happen. And
absolutely.
I've been a mentor. So I mentor a fair few kids who are like starting their own businesses.
Cool.
And when I say kids under 18, I love you, but you are under 18, you are a child. I love you. But when I've been chatting to these kids, obviously they've been impacted heavily by AI tools.
Yeah.
Because they quote unquote do the thinking for you. When realistically, and even they are clearly to see, it does not do that thinking for you. Doesn't allow you to be creative.
No, yeah.
And the skills that you that you get by doing it yourself, you're able to transfer it to different areas. But in saying so, a lot of these kids are like, "Oh, I'm going in a trade because AI can't take away my tradie skills." It can, but we'll digest that anyway. But when it comes to there's this constant push, and this bubble will burst. I'm very much a believer that this constant push that AI is going to fix the world for the very, 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 very few is going to burst eventually because it has been pushed so far down our throats that we're not using it. We're not people. Yes, there are tools out there that are great, that are awesome, that help you solve that particular problem. Awesome. There are hundreds and thousands that don't, and almost make it harder to live. Or for example, like I don't know if you are a Mac or a Windows user, but ever since this vibe coding shift has come in, there's been a lot of issues with my tools, which have been fairly reliable, and now they're no longer reliable. It's like, okay, I can't do my job now. Can you please have a human who knows what they're doing do their job, please? I pay you money, please do your job.
Is this particular application that's not quite doing the job?
Honestly, it's if this was 2 years ago, I would say like a few particular applications. But to be honest, it's honestly almost everything that I'm using.
Yeah, right.
Like there's a update to a Windows, half of my programs aren't working the way that they should. Like it's impacting my process to be able to deliver my content, but also help my clients. And when you're spending your time fixing tech issues instead of just doing what you need to do, because we're all here to make money, we can't do that if the tools that we rely on to do really basic functions. Now, of course, some of those functions are very advanced, but you would trust that the program can do what it needs to do. And when a single update can brick it, which is make it useless unless you revert back to older versions, that makes it harder just to do your job. Yeah. So like some of these examples are OBS, which is an open broadcast software. So if you've ever done any streaming, or if you've done any capturing of a desktop, so when you are trying to film something, you would use this open source software. So open source being that it's freely available online. And within the past, I'd say 2 or 3 updates, it has crashed a lot of things for me. It's made things a lot more difficult for me to do my process, which in turn means that things get dropped, things get left behind. And I don't want that for myself, but I also don't want that for my clients either, because if I am, recommending them something, yes, some things can become out of date. Awesome, I'll change my opinion when that comes. But when a tool that should be reliable is no longer reliable, you look incompetent. You look behind the times. Why? Because they've decided to update something with vibe coding from an AI who's pulling information from, humans who didn't even know what they were doing in the first place, because it's freely available online. And as we move into this space, or not just streaming, but as we move more into more things being available online, there is going to be more and more information that is untrue because it looks cool, it sounds cool, or people want you to be convinced of something. And there's going to be a lot more reverting back to, I would say, like printed books or libraries, or having more opportunity to speak to real people who have experienced those things in real life, rather than just taking what's for word on the internet.
I'm sort of feeling that to some degree from I don't know what it is, like from video, actually. Sorry, I was trying to work out where I was heading with that. But yeah, from a video point of view now, I've got to the stage where my first view of a video, short form, whatever it is, usually short form, long form is never always generally good. But yeah, if it's a short form video, it's like, it's fake. I start from a point of this is fake and move on, or this is fake, confirm. Yes, it is fake. This is fake, and then okay, no, it's not, right? And it's funny, and
I feel sad to be in that position.
But that's it. Like, so I flick through my phone, and you can kind of, it's real, and you sort of pick the real ones. But at the same time, like something's just looking like, it just seems like they stand out a little bit more, but also because the fakes are getting better.
Yes,
and that's the scary bit for me, because I'm just watching now. I'm like, oh, that looks pretty damn real. So I've got to start from a stage like it's fake, and then prove me wrong. But my kids are good at picking it, which I find really interesting.
Yes. I've definitely, when chatting with the kids, they definitely pick it up a lot faster, and they immediately, there's a lot more of a blanket mistrust. And when I say blanket mistrust, as in they'll see a post or they'll see something that is using AI, and they immediately discredit that. The business, they discredit that company, they discredit, like they go, oh, you've used AI. Done. Like you're out of my interest. And say, for example, unless it's something that they're already using, like honestly games at this point, but unless it's something that they're actively already engaged in, for example, like either a TV show or a piece of media, or maybe a certain content creator, they can be like, okay, this is definitely AI. I'm not liking this. All right, I'll give you a couple more chances. But those chances are getting fewer and fewer and fewer, to the point where there's plenty of people, and kids and adults alike, where that feeling is getting thinner and thinner, to the point that if they spot any AI, if they sniff out any AI, they immediately go, no, block. I'm not interested in what you have to say.
Tell me what you mean by anything AI.
So for example, like the AI that I use a lot in my work is AI transcriptions, because you would have to pay a human a lot of money to transcribe everything. And to be honest, a lot of people are okay with that, because it reduces that time, but also they want to be able to see the transcript of what you've said, and it makes it easier. But as soon as there is a visual or a sound that is trying to convince them of something, they immediately shut down. And when I say convince them of something, it can be like, hey, buy this thing, or hey, listen to this thing, or like, stop what you're doing now and pay attention to this thing. They immediately clock that out because, oh, this isn't real. Oh, this is AI. Or they'll see something online that maybe, for example, it could be a political thing. And I know that when I was younger, I wasn't really politically minded because I was a child. But now it is more and more in their faces that they're more and more politically aware that, hey, this thing doesn't, this video doesn't seem real. Oh, this is odd. Why is this, particular politician saying these things? I wonder what they're getting out of it. Oh, it's not real. Cool. Like immediately dismiss what's being said. And because kids can do it faster, they can see that difference and change. Where when I talk to older people, there is less of that instant recognition because, oh, it's CGI. Oh, we've been doing computers forever. It's like, well, they don't say forever, but I say forever. They've been doing like these computer things have been around for a very long time. And I guess when I speak to a lot of older people, they don't quite see that impact of, hey, generating this image or seeing this video that was created. Do you not immediately understand or even think of the ramifications? Oh, it's just a fun little video of a cat dancing around. Okay, what is it doing? It's taking your attention. It's trying to convince you maybe not to buy something, but maybe to follow the channel or to rack up engagement, because that's what you can do, is that you can make money from holding people's attention.
Yeah.
And that's quite sad. That feels quite sad. Unless you, this is coming from someone who, works with people and creates content that is hopefully there to educate, to make people's lives better, and hopefully do it entertainingly. I say that as I'm covered in glitter and I have big blue hair and a big blue bright outfit, because I want to both entertain and educate. And for a lot of people, a lot of content online, it's mainly just about sapping your attention, keeping you on the platform longer, and not having you take what's being given and utilize it in your life. And there is going to be a very big swing back, because people are getting sick of losing an evening on their phone, having their thumbs get all tired from working out, from scrolling videos, but also they feel depleted.
Yeah.
They feel you may not get a sponsorship. It's like eating Subway. You might eat it and then like half an hour later, oh, you're hungry again, because it didn't feel like there was much substance in that.
You just got to get a foot long. You just got to eat more Subway.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'll eat more Subway.
You're just doing it wrong. No, I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean. And I think it's, especially starting this, what I'm doing now and trying to grow this EOS practice, I've definitely started to cut back on so much of that doom scrolling. And this
do you feel better?
I busy myself with other things. So I'm not sure. No, I feel better in the sense I'm always trying to achieve something. So ultimately it's family and business. That's kind of my mixes. Got some friends, I hang out with them that, we have some fun, but it's, again, very limited in comparison. But ultimately, yeah, like I've just cut back on those things as much as I can. I do love a good comedian. So that's something I do get stuck into. I'll just sit there and there's a few comedians out there I love just listening to them, because it's good to get a laugh, and it's, again, real, right? And it's authentic, and it's them live on a stage talking with live people. It just draws me. I'm drawn to that much more now.
And if you're able to see them, you would go see them, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Come to Geelong. There's a handful I'd love to come to Geelong. So I'm finding a lot less doom scrolling. I still sort of get stuck there, but not as much as I used to be. I think it's just there's a disenfranchised to a certain degree with the amount of fake stuff out there as well. Like there's so much of it.
And it's definitely going to hit a peak where people are just going to stop engaging with that stuff anymore. And that's what usually happens with a lot of these tech platforms, is that they're going to push until they can, extract as much money as they can out of you without giving you much or anything in return. And that's to be expected, but it's kind of a bit sad where that starts to then control your life outside of the phone.
Yeah.
It starts to control politics. It starts to control the way that money is distributed. It starts to control like how maybe your kids treat you, and you're like,
yeah. I do miss the 90s. Earlier.
No, the 90s. It's definitely we're in the current cycle now where the 90s were the best time.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. It was 80s for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, not true. Yeah, I do miss it. If we didn't have devices in our house, it'd be amazing.
Don't get me wrong, there is conveniences. Like there.
Yeah.
It makes things it can make things easier.
Absolutely.
But it's just going to happen with life as technology consistently moves forward. And once it no longer becomes that, once it becomes something that you can use to better your life and make it feel richer and make it feel, like you're getting a wealth of knowledge, then awesome. That it will become more utilized, but it will also be less of a thing that people use to isolate themselves.
Yeah.
It will be a thing that they use to connect with real life other people. Hopefully.
That's that's something that I always think about, especially with the likes of Facebook. It was built to connect people. And I loved Facebook in the first, maybe 3-4 years. But in especially in the last 4 or 5 years, I think I'm members, joined 2007 or whatever it was, when it was the first year it came out, whatever that was. But now, you literally, you don't see anyone. You just see a whole bunch of suggested posts and ads. You're like, well, this is pointless. I spend hardly any time on Facebook because of that.
But yet, the groups and the marketplaces.
Oh, yeah, marketplace, 100%.
Are absolutely thriving.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's that immediate human connection.
Yeah.
Yes, you may deal with some unsavory people in your local community, but that's going to happen in any group of people. You're going to butt up heads against other people. It's going to happen. But with, I've seen a bunch of kids that technically the under 16 ban has kicked in where they're not allowed social medias.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that is easy to get around because of course it is. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
And, these kids, again, they just use the groups. They just use the marketplace because it's serving a function. Once it's no longer serving a function, it's not, once Facebook is no longer connecting people don't care.
Yeah. I do like marketplace though. That is, I spend way too much time there. That's something that just ooh.
You go in with a thing in mind and you're like, ooh, shiny thing.
Yeah. Ooh, and do I need another drone? Maybe I need another drone. That's kind of where I end up.
Do I need another, was it double barrel smoker? Or
yes.
Do I need another one of those? Maybe. I have 3, but I could do another one.
Yeah, my personal best was 8 smokers or 8 barbecues in the backyard at my peak. I'm down to 3.
Oh, okay.
And 1 offsite. So 4.
I'm sure your neighbours are very happy for you in that respect.
No, I went through a few over the years, but anyway, we digress. Okay, cool. So obviously the value of video creation or content creation is important. There's multiple ways you can do it. I do like the podcast. I do struggle with in front of a camera talking to it. I feel like I lack the confidence to do that, and just not make it sound salesy. I reckon that's the bit that.
Has your experience been when you have to be in front of a camera and you have to look down that lens that you have to be salesy because that's the positions that you've been in the past?
I think it's yes.
Yeah.
So, and I find that I sort of almost go into when I'm looking to it, I think it's more I need to prepare to speak what I need to speak. Oh, that sounds so bad. I should prepare to speak what I was about to speak just then. But ultimately, I think it's just what do I deliver is probably the piece there. What do I actually say in front of the camera? Because usually it's a bunch of scripted stuff that I'm going to talk about this topic, this topic, this topic.
Do you find that, do you feel more comfortable when you write out a word-for-word script?
No.
Or are you someone very much like myself who does dot points areas? Because we know our stuff. We already know our stuff. I know for a fact that when I go off the cuff, because I have enough practice now, I can be relatively succinct. I still go, I still stumble sometimes, but that's human. That's okay. And when speaking to a camera, it may be a case that, in the past, you've just been doing it for sales reasons, or maybe you've been doing it for a webcam, or you've been doing it because someone else has told you to do it. But when you are doing this of your own volition, of your own business, of your own personal brand, being able to practice and just look at that camera lens and see not just a human eye, because I went through an imagination exercise with a client once and I scared the hell out of them because they were like, whoa, it's just an eye. I'm like, oh, okay, no. Imagine a face and the eye just happens to be there. When you imagine that you are speaking to someone, your body will change and you will relax. Like in a situation like we are now, where we're talking and for example, I'm referring to the third person in the conversation and I look directly at them, I acknowledge them, and then I get back to the conversation that we're having here because I'm imagining right now that my customer avatar, one of my customer avatars, let's say Melissa, I imagine her right there. She's smiling. She's being quiet. She's enjoying the conversation. She's not butting in. Hi, Melissa. And that is coming out in my body and my expression, and I'm able to breathe and relax. But for example, in your experience, I imagine you've been when communicating directly to a camera, you kind of got to do it. You got to do it in a time crunch, I imagine, or you got to be like, I got to get these exact words out because if I don't, there's going to be consequences. And if you're able to take your time, because video editing exists.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've done plenty of editing.
It's
the
best
for this podcast. Like the editing exists, and if you don't like the first take, awesome, take another one. More than 2 takes of something that you already know or you're already comfortable with, unless you are like a film director who's like, I need to get the most out of my actors, you don't have time for that. You don't have energy for that. And if it, for example, by the end of the second take, if you are feeling like you're either going to feel one of 2 ways. You're going to be like, yep, that was okay, let's ship it. Or I'm too tired, let's just ship it. I'm okay with if it doesn't come out perfect.
Yeah.
And that second one, I think is honestly a good place to feel and a good place to be. Like, I'm tired, I've done the job, I'm happy with how it goes, I'm going to ship it. I'm going to post it, I'm going to upload it. Even though it may not be perfect, I'm just happy to just get it out there and get it done. And yes, that may mean that, oh no, the video put out there that was like 30 seconds long, was not perfect. Awesome. You're going to have to do it again. And I don't mean or film it again. I mean, you're going to be posting the same message multiple times because the people who see it once aren't going to remember. And the people who haven't seen it, they're not going to know your message. So you're going to have to repeat that again and again and again in different ways, in different formats, maybe in a podcast or maybe on a stage or maybe just in a video that you're recording for a specific audience that you later repurpose into other pieces of content. You're going to be repeating yourself a lot. And I know that especially a lot of my clients don't like that. They're going to have to repeat themselves. But that's what marketing is. You're getting your message out there again and again and again, and you're going to have to repeat yourself again and again and again. I say that with love.
No, look, I totally agree. So 2 massive takeaways for me on that one is, and that's something I'm going to definitely try, which is imagining you're talking to someone, not to a camera. That's kind of where I get lost. I'll sit there, I'm like, all right, I'm speaking to masses as opposed to, was it Melissa?
Yeah. Melissa's mine. And if it helps, being able to, once you start recording, because you're going to have to cut that first section out anyway of the video. Yeah. Like, I think we call it the millennial pause, where you press record, you get yourself ready, take a breath, and then you get started. And they don't cut out that bit at the start, which is
my pause is just a lot longer.
With a pet peeve. But taking that time to just sit there, get yourself ready, and then just imagine that person. And if it's like a friend, then you're going to act differently. If it's a loved one, you're going to act differently. Maybe it's a person who exists or maybe someone who doesn't exist. As long as you can imagine that human there, you're going to ultimately perform better and be able to actually get the result you want in less than 2 takes, hopefully.
No, look, that's a great tip. That's a great tip. And definitely something I'm going to try because, I think a lot of people do get lost in their own heads. Especially all looking at themselves in the corner of the screen? No, yes. I purposely film with a tripod.
Yes.
Frame it up, and so I can't see myself. Like, that's the worst thing I can do to me. I even
getting distracted by your head.
Yeah. Even in meetings, if I'm in like a Teams or a Zoom, I'm like, oh gosh, I got to hide my face.
That's what Post-it notes are for. You just put it on the screen. It's like.
So, that's great. And look, the other one, repeat yourself. And I think that's something a lot of leaders, a lot of people who is trying to build out brand awareness or, their own personal brand awareness kind of forget that, videos last, how long now before they disappear and don't show up in people's feed or anything like that?
Depends ultimately on the platform. It can be a minimum of 2 to 3 days all the way to like 5 to 10 years. YouTube is probably the longest, and that's where I usually ask people to start, because YouTube is a search engine. People have intent. So the videos are going to get more traction and a lot longer longevity than they do on platforms that are designed to just churn over the content.
Yeah.
But that's where the repetitiveness comes in a lot, especially with those platforms that just churn over content for the algorithm. Repeating yourself, because if you're bored of your own message, good, that's a good start, because you're going to have to keep doing it, because it's not just for the people that haven't heard of you or haven't heard your message or maybe the solution to their problem. It's because they haven't heard it from you. They haven't heard the passion from you. And if you repeat yourself, that's okay. Yes, you may annoy some people who are real big fans of you, but that's okay. If they are super fans of you, they're not going to care. They're going to be okay if you repeat yourself, especially if you do it in a unique way.
Yeah.
In an entertaining way, even. Giving yourself like that maneuverability that you can repeat the same message or the same core idea that you have about the solution that you provide or the problem that you solve, but relate it to something recent that's happening in the zeitgeist, or maybe have it be something about an interaction that you had with a potential client or a current client or a past client. Like, there's always plenty of ways to reframe the same message over and over again. It just means that you might get bored of it yourself, but your audience will never get bored of it, because they are there to see you, not just do a bit of a monkey dance, just a bit of like a like, you're there to give them value. Hopefully you're there to give them a problem. You're there to give them a solution to their problem.
Yep.
And in those moments that you're not doing that, you're just kind of filling the air with fluff.
Yeah.
And hopefully you don't want to do that, especially if you're wanting to contribute something to society, if you want to contribute something more than just, hey, watch this dancing cat, this AI dancing cat that was generated by a computer somewhere in the world and took way too much energy to produce, just so you could watch it for 3 seconds and
keep watching. Okay, cool. I like that. And look, I totally agree. You do have to repeat yourself. In saying that, how often do you recommend people? Like, let's say LinkedIn, because I kind of live in LinkedIn. I was looking at my battery. This is sidetrack. I was looking at my battery consumption. Way too much LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. That used to be Instagram back in the day. Now it's all LinkedIn. So, but I digress. How often would you repeat? Say, say with what I do with leadership teams, I do work with a whole bunch of leadership teams. We have different issues, and it all ties back to how we're finding solutions through EOS. But I don't want to be dropping one of those every single day. I feel like that would be like, come on, Ryan,
yes,
do something.
So
else.
It's more, when it comes to the repetitive nature of what you have to do, it's ultimately, and this may be a bit selfish for people, but based on your comfort level. And when, say, for example, it may be like, say, a push for EOS. When I say a push, I mean you're letting people know that this is an
this
EOS.
Is what I do.
This is what I do. This is what I do. And in those moments, having something that, say, maybe every, 2 weeks, every, say, for example, a specific video that's the same video of you, for example, check out Ray and stuff. Like in Geelong, when you're walking around saying this is what EOS is, for example. Yes, it's the same piece of content, but, for example, you could repeat it realistically once every 2 weeks, maybe edit the video slightly differently, maybe with a different caption, maybe with a different hook. So the hook being that first 2 to 3 seconds that really grabs people's attention and stops them from scrolling. In those moments, you could pretty much do the same video message every 2 weeks like clockwork. You'll just be doing, a slightly different take on the thing. You're still repeating the same content, but, there's a little bit of space in between. And this goes for most content and the message. Say, for example, it could be a case that a good example is an AI, AI is not the devil, for example. And that is a message that people...
Jury's out too on that one.
No, I completely agree. Where at the end of the day, AI is a tool.
Yep.
Or, sorry, when I say AI, it's not really AI. It's just a large language model. It's not actual AI. Once it's AI, then we'll have discussions about that.
Oh yeah.
And we'll definitely have discussions about that. But currently what we are calling AI, because it's easier to say than LLM, large language models. Instead of saying that, we say AI. When it comes to AI not being the devil, it's a tool that is to be used, very much like Photoshop back in the day. That was seen as the devil because nothing is real anymore. And yet we used it to the extreme, and then we kind of folded back. And now it's become an everyday aspect of what marketing professionals do when they Photoshop something. Of course, there is bad Photoshop, and there are plenty of Reddit communities about that.
Yes.
And that's the same. And say, for example, let's say that particular section that I just mentioned there about AI not being the devil is that it's a tool to be used. That is something that can be incorporated into like every single piece of content you do, if you so choose. Or it could be on, pieces of content that are about a certain product that you have or a certain service that you provide. And you're repeating that same thing that, yes, it may drum up some engagements in the comments and maybe some angry people saying AI is actually the devil. And it's like, I totally agree how it's being used now, but it can be a tool. Like that type of like engagement and stuff. But because you're putting it in different contexts, you're using different hooks, you're using different supporting stories along with what you're saying, you can essentially use that same, if that's your core message and you're building your brand, you're building your business, you're building everything that you're doing on that mentality, you could reuse that again and again and again. Honestly, you will get bored though. So when it comes to repeating, you want to probably sprinkle it. I'd say I go 3 to 5 posts. Usually every 5th post is usually a very blatantly sales post, I would recommend, in the sense of like every 5th thing is, hey, this is what I'm selling. This is how it would benefit you. This is why you should care. And then every other 4 posts are posts that are establishing your authority, establishing your credibility, as well as letting people know where your values are. Like, why should they trust you and follow you and eventually buy from you with that 5th post if there's nothing to really support the other 4 posts with what you're doing?
And so I would sprinkle in between a bunch of different other posts as well in regards to educational pieces or photos and
Yes,
so it's not just
everything that you put out there has to be
a video.
Buy. Download our white paper. Buy. Not everything has to be buy. You can support what you're saying with proof that, like, say, what you're doing is the right thing. Yeah. That yes, AI may be, AI is the devil, but I've now, created a tool that doesn't use any of the big LLMs and doesn't use any water. Like I've used like what DeepSeek did a couple of years ago now, where they used these, instead of using really intensive hardware and a lot of water, as you can imagine, they used hardware that was actually like 5 years old. They used less energy to create the same output. Now, I don't know if that's still the case, and I don't know if that's still happening as much anymore, but that's why the entire world went, ooh, we can be doing better than we are now. Ooh, we could be improving. Ooh. We could be doing better for the planet and humanity. Ooh, what a shock. I don't know if that's actually something that DeepSeek is doing. I want to stress, I don't know if that's what they're actually doing.
I can't substantiate or back that up at all. But yes.
Neither can I. But we can see that there is ways to improve. And especially with a lot of people who want your money now, they're saying this is the best it'll ever be. It'll only just get better. It's like, or you could just make it more energy efficient. Or you could not start shoving it in everything that it doesn't need to be shoved into. Perhaps.
AI's they've got it in everything. That's for sure.
Well, because they want you to buy the dream. Because if you buy the dream, then you give them more money for, whatever they want the money for. Let's not go into conspiracies on that in my head. But if you buy into the dream, then you give them the money. If you don't buy into the dream, then you don't give them money.
It's all about the money. Now, Zoe, it's been great to have a chat, but I just wanted to cover off a few kind of quick fire things in regards to your tips for people who are going, okay, yep, I'm gonna listen to this, and I know I need to make some videos. What's the tech you recommend? Because I know you said sound is important.
Yes.
And we've we've got great cameras on our phones these days, so we don't necessarily have to go get a separate camera. But what are your technology recommendation for someone that's going like, okay, cool, I'm going to make some videos. What should I have in front of me?
So usually what you need is 3 things other than a camera. So let's just imagine you've got a phone that's been made in the past 2 to 3 years. Yeah, much of a muchness, but like as long as you haven't been dropping it on the camera lens consistently. If you have a toddler, my apologies to you. You're going to need to grab something that's a little bit better than that. But let's just imagine we've got a phone that is the basic standard, can do pretty decent video.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that our sound is good, our lighting is good, and that the stabilization, that it's still.
Yep.
Because once you start getting movement into a camera, then there's things that can go wrong from there. So usually I recommend for people to grab a microphone or be in a very quiet, plush place. When I say plush, I mean you've got carpets on the floors, you've got things on the wall. I've seen some people use doona covers in the event that the lighting doesn't need to be perfect. They can just put a doona cover over them to get around all the audio issues. Usually I would recommend maybe a Bluetooth microphone from Rode. Rode is an Australian company, and we are using their microphones right now. Obviously, we're not using the Bluetooth ones. We're using the big pod mics, big heavy-duty cable ones. But when you are just trying to you're just trying to record a video, especially when you are going to be recording it for more than just outside of your office or outside of your bedroom or wherever you're recording the video, being able to use Bluetooth microphones when they do work, of course, the technology is not entirely there, but it's fairly reliable to the point where you can clip it onto your shirt or your top and be able to walk and talk. You're able to move around. You're able to maybe put your camera on and then walk, 3 or 4 meters and do whatever you need to do. You want to be able to think of that consistency for whatever you're filming. So that's the mic. Then the light. Natural light is great, but very unpredictable, as you well know, especially when we're preparing for today. We're like, please, the sun, don't move. Clouds, stay away. So when it comes to lighting, you probably, maybe if necessary, grab a ring light. So those are those big, big rings that you can get quite, cheaply from, your Kmart's, your Aurora. Any sort of consistent light is better than no light at all. And try and avoid downlights, so your lights that are usually in offices, bedrooms, that are above the head, because they just make it look like you have big bags under your eyes and you look real sad and you look real sleepy. So probably not that, unless you want to start looking, talking through your chin.
Yes.
like a teenager. I've noticed
I like the Queen album cover.
Yes, exactly. They've been doing a lot of that. I've noticed they've been talking through their chins as of late, as I've seen the kids grow up and change. And then the third thing is stabilization. You want your camera to be still because that will give off an air of professionality than you trying to hold the camera still with your hand, because humans' hands move a lot, and especially as we get older, they move a lot. So if you can get a tripod or maybe just balancing it on some books. So if you are really keen on doing video, investing in a good microphone, a good lighting kit, or even just a light and a tripod that you can put your camera on, so something that is nice and still and grippy, then you're already there. You're much better than most people who are just, your Joe Blow sitting on the couch, just getting their phone out as they're sleeping and just getting their phone. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be professional, especially when you are starting out. Because when you're starting out, you're just getting your process ready. You're just trying to get this good. You're just trying to feel your way through this. And if you do this consistently over a period of time and get no traction, awesome. Don't do it. Like if you say like, hey, I'm going to do this every day for a month, and I get nothing and no one sees my stuff, awesome. You can stop. Like it's something is not working.
Yeah.
Then you make a change. But if you say, give it a day and you're like, oh, this hasn't magically changed my life, you might need to give it more than a day. But if you can set yourself a goal, achieve it, and then look back at those insights, those analytics or those metrics or those numbers and see that, oh, I've gotten more people seeing my stuff. I've gotten more comments. I've gotten people actually going to my website and trying to see what I can do and maybe book in a couple of clients. Awesome. That's the goal, because you can see that working, and then you can either keep doing it or maybe, if you're feeling spicy, changing it slightly. and seeing what processes you can change to make things more efficient for yourself, hopefully.
You've got to, yeah, I think you got to start. And then one thing I do recommend, though, is one of these little phone caddy holder things,
Yes.
cradles. I'm not sure what they call it, but purely because it holds the Rode mics on them. That was the reason I got them. I'm like, oh, that's a win.
So yes, essentially those can be both handheld,
Yes.
and so essentially it's to describe it to the listener and the viewer. Essentially, it is a phone, usually on landscape mode, and it is in this big plastic or metal, depending on how much money you want to spend, where the camera is locked in, like screwed in usually, or like held in by clamps. And then this frame around the phone, usually it's a little bigger because sometimes you might want to use tablets. I do not recommend tablets. The cameras are terrible.
Oh, yeah.
But some people do. I don't know how. But like they're big enough that you can quite comfortably get the phone in, get it doing what it needs to do, put it on top of a tripod, and or if necessary, hold it between two hands. So then you can hold it and maybe do some very rudimentary Steadicam. And essentially a Steadicam is where the camera moves around smoothly. It's very rudimentary because it's not designed for that stuff. But that's what these caddies are for, to be able to hold your phone so that if necessary, you can take the phone out and still record. But if you ever do that, or say, for example, if you ever need to record some video, may I highly recommend keep your elbows in. Like no matter what, elbows in, because your body, your torso is going to be the most stable thing on your body. So in the event that you have to record something, be it a football game, or be it maybe your kids playing something nice, if you want to get some nice steady footage in the circumstances that you can, put your elbows in, keep them nice and tight. You may look stupid as hell, but you're going to get the most smoothest footage that you can in that situation.
Lock in those elbows.
Lock it in.
No, awesome. Great tips. And you also started the Vic Podcasters.
Yes.
So I did want to touch on that really quickly. The reasons for starting that, and I guess what people can expect if they join the group on LinkedIn.
So Vic Podcasters is a group that we have on LinkedIn, Facebook, and email newsletter. Essentially, it is Victorian podcasters. It is international, by the way. So even though it is for Victorian podcasters, that's just because of all the opportunities and grants and a lot of stuff that we talk about is Victorian-based. But anyone who is a podcaster who wants a community of people who enjoy podcasting, both professionally and as a hobby, to be able to talk about their trials and tribulations and have a community that's not just, Australian Podcasters International, or like, especially for people who are in the state of Victoria, Australia, you have a lot of useful tips. And if you are outside of Victoria, don't worry, there is still useful stuff, but a lot of it is Victorian-based. And that's because I produce podcasts as one of the services that I provide to clients. But I also run like my own podcast, the Unboring Your Brand podcast, where it is an opportunity for me to talk at the camera for like 20, 30 minutes at a time. But I'm able to then, yes, repurpose that content afterwards, but I'm able to address the problems and the questions that my clients have in a more public format. So then people don't have to keep asking me the same questions over and over again, but people discover me because I am answering those questions. Because the personal branding space for a lot of people is quite scary, because you mean I have to put in more work than I am now into like a personal brand? What is a personal brand? Oh no. Oh God. Like that can be quite scary for people when they have been working so hard at maybe a company, or maybe their entire identity is their job title at a large company. And then they get fired, or they get retrenched, or there is a possible looming threat of that. What do you have after that? Oh no. A personal brand? Like, oh God. Like that initial fear can be quite jarring for people.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to answer people's questions and be able to say that, hey, don't worry. There's, once you've, you can control an aspect of not just your personal brand, but an aspect of how you appear publicly and professionally that's not just attached to your job role. Or maybe you want to be able to get better jobs. If you want to stand out, you are going to have to, work really hard on your personal brand so that you stand out not just in your industry, but the people that are going to hire you. Because if they do not remember you, they are not going to remember to put your name down on the potential list of people they want to hire. Or if you are someone who is a small business owner, which you and I can definitely feel on this one, where you're doing a lot of work just trying to be memorable. So then when people need you, they immediately go, yep, I need you. And to do that, you need to put effort into the way that you appear, not just digitally, but your personal brand entirely. And of course, that is another podcast that we can definitely go into deep stuff about. But in the Unboring Your Brand podcast, of course, I talk about that every single week.
Zoe, it's been really cool catching up with you. And we went through quite a lot of different areas. Definitely went.
Sorry if I pulled you off track. Like
No,
you
that's
have
all.
such a nice list, and then I come in and ruin it.
It's funny. I make this list and I never follow it. It's just there to make me feel confident in coming into the conversation.
Of course.
But so where can people find you just for the sign off, and then it's been great chatting to you.
Thank you so much for having me. And if someone is listening or watching this podcast, please do rate this 5 stars. Like, the reviews are really important when it comes to podcasting, so make sure that you do that. Make sure you do that. And while you're also doing that, you can check out my website, vcc.training. No .com, just vcc.training, if you want to find more about the Video Confidence Coach and how you can get video confident yourself.
Thanks, Zoe.